Well, well. It finally happened. Hell has frozen over because Celtic's board have finally done what we've been crying out since the end of the season. They have finally opened up their wallet, got their money out, and they've signed Adam Idah for Celtic and for Brendan Rodgers. A fantastic signing, but was it actually bad business? Here's what I mean. The following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order. Hello there and welcome back to the channel. As always, is Steve O'Mac, and it's an absolute pleasure for you to be joining me for this wee special video, because it is a video that is a long time in the making. Because late last night, late into those dark hours, the news broke that the Celtic board had finally done what we've been crying out for. They have managed to go to Norwich City with a bid that has not only brought them to the table, but it has made them satisfied to finally let Adam Idah return home and become a Celtic player permanently. Now, you'll have seen it. It's been swirling around social media. It's been on Sky Sports News. Celtic have put in a bid that has finally been accepted. Now, what was that bid? Well, reports are saying it's £8.5 million that should rise to about £9.5 million with your usual add-on incentives. Again, we don't know the makeup of that yet, but typically it's things like appearances, goals, international caps. And by all accounts, if we look at Adam Idah, you've got to be fair and say that he's probably going to hit those targets. It's a big chunk of change. It is going to be a top fee that has been paid for us, not seen since the likes of when we paid £9 million for Edward. It is certainly a statement of intent. It shows that we're finally dipping into that vast cash reserves and that we are giving the manager some of that quality that he's been shouting out for. Now, you've seen the thumbnail, you've read the title, you've heard me at the start of the show there. It's a great signing, a fantastic signing. Let's not mix words here. I am absolutely delighted to finally see us getting Adam Idah in the door, particularly when we were running threadbare with one recognised striker. It's an immense signing, and it is exactly what we need. However, was it bad business, and was it yet another example of the Celtic way, the Celtic board's inability to get deals done? Another example of dithering, and another example of why it pays to be forward thinking and be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to signing. Now, I'll get on to that, but first and foremost, I'm going to just say exactly what you are all thinking. Adam Idah, long overdue. Absolutely buzzing to get this one over the line. It feels like it's been an absolute nightmare. It's been a saga, to say the least. Willie won't he? Multiple bids, cheapskate bids, knocked back, rebuffed because Celtic weren't coming across with the readies. The manager, he's not held his punches, has he? He's been direct. Every time he's been asked, he's wanting quality. He expects quality. You've got to imagine that that message has finally managed to filter its way through. But there could also potentially be other reasons as to why we've suddenly sprung into action and got the money out for Adam Idah. Undoubtedly, he's going to add that quality. He's given us a fantastic, well, I say backup striker, but the reality is I think he's going to be a guy in this season, once he's in the door, once he gets his feet under the table, once he gets minutes on the park and starts coming back to doing what he was doing at the tail end of last season, which is scoring goals, where I actually think you could find in the fullness of time that he actually overtakes Kyogo and he becomes the main man up front for Celtic. Interesting, can't wait to see that, and who knows, maybe we'll even get two strikers at one point. Think about that. How exciting is that? But yeah, getting him in the door, absolutely fantastic. It's what we need. It is a statement of intent, and it shows the financial strength that we have, that we can go out and spend that kind of money. Now, if you watched the podcast before, which I'm sure you will have, why wouldn't you? You'll know that myself, Paddy, Josh, Liam, anyone that's wanting to talk Celtic on here has said the exact same thing. That Celtic shouldn't be scared off by paying those kind of fees. £8.5 million, yeah, it's a princely sum for Scottish football, but in the fullness of world football, even British football, it is largely chump change. It only looks to be so much money because we're in Scotland, and typically that's not done. As I say, it's a fee that's still at this moment at the front end at 8.5 million. It's less than we paid for Edward for PSG at 9 million, but it will eclipse that in time. But we were spending £6 million in the likes back in the early 2000s when Martin O'Neill was at the helm with guys like Sutton, Hartson, and Thompson. So you give your inflation, you give everything else, the amount of money that we're generating now versus then, we shouldn't be batting an eyelid at spending that kind of money. And certainly in history, we have spent not too bad. Obviously, there was Edward and the likes of Julian at 7 million. So, yeah, long overdue. Now, as I said, and I'll address it, I said a great signing because it is a great signing, but is it perhaps bad business? Now, just to quickly touch and elaborate on that, if you've watched my Smoke and Mirrors video, which was the deception of Celtic's transfer strategy, then you'll have saw exactly what I was putting across there, which is this will no doubt be hailed as being, look at Celtic and look at all their money and look at how much they are able to, willing to, and have spent. But when we peel back the curtain and we scratch away at the surface, it's exactly what I said in that video. Do not be fooled here, and don't let the excitement and the joy of finally getting in a quality player blind you from exactly what is going on here. Because as it stands, Celtic are still close to spending that so far in this transfer window. Now you will, Steve, come on, stop. Don't piss on the parade here. That's not the intention. As I say, as you can see from the smile on this face, you can see that it's 12:30 at night and I'm recording this video, how much I am buzzing to finally be discussing something exciting, something tangible, something that we've been long overdue in the transfer window for Celtic, such as how boring, dragged out and disappointing it's been so far as we find ourselves now on the 13th of August. So I am buzzing, make no mistake about that. But are the board actually spending money? Because the facts are this. You looked at what it says from the 23 into the 24 summer period in terms of sales versus purchases. Celtic had posted roughly about £19.7 million in player trading profit. That was largely made up with the Abada 10 million in January, but since then we've also sold for 3.5 million. We've sold Haksabanovic for around about 2 million. We've just sold Boston Lal for 2 million, gone up to 3 million with add-ons eventually, and we get a nominal fee for the likes of Segrist. I believe that was around about £1 million. So we're talking the best bit of almost £8.5 million straight away on those players, not excluding the Abada. So if you take your 19.7 million from the 23 to 24 period and you fire another 8.5 million from just immediate summer sales, again, not excluding guys that were getting off the books and letting go on a wage, well, but nearly £30 million in the green. We spent £3.5 million in Bernardo and now £8.5 million. Now, I don't need to tell you the sums, but 8.5 plus 3.5, it's not nearly £19.7 million. It's not nearly £28 million. So yes, Celtic are still in a trading profit. So that's all I'm saying. I am happy as can be that we've got them over. But what I am saying is, and I will continually repeat it, do not let this goodwill story, this good news story, blind you, take your eye off the ball, that this only brings us back to roughly where we were in terms of the required quality. And in fact, our squad is actually still weaker Yep, we addressed the goalkeeping position. We've got in Schmeichel, cost us nothing, cost us wages. Great signing though. We got in Sinisalo, nominal fee about £1 million. And of course, we got on Bernardo. But we got rid of O, we got rid of Haksabanovic, and there's a few others. So the squad as a whole, albeit some of those guys weren't fantastic quality, the squad is still short. We are still less than we had previously, and the overall quality and depth is still lacking. There is still work to be done. That's the underlying message here. But yep, Adam Idah in the door. Fantastic news. Now I'll hold my hands up here because I also said in that video and pointed out that Celtic tend to sell before they're brought in. And I says usually that is off the back of selling a major asset. I look directly to, in this case, Matt O'Reilly, because let's face it, I think we're all very worried. Some of us are consigned, maybe even myself, if I'm being honest, that he probably could go during the summer. I'm crossing fingers, I'm crossing toes, everything that's not the case. And as I said before, if we could hold on to Matt O'Reilly whilst adding some proper quality into the side during this window between now and the end of the month, then that's a sign of intent. That is going to surprise us all. That's going to be the least Celtic board thing to do. And that's something that would certainly be getting excited about. Even though I thought that Idah would come in off the back of O'Reilly leaving, at this moment in time, I'm still roughly within the right area where we have sold and get rid of multiple players before we've brought them in. The only positive there is that was thinning the squad. That was thinning the nonsense, trimming the fat, if you will, and getting them in. So I'm not too dissatisfied with that. I'm quite happy, actually, if that's going to be the case. I don't mind the selling garbage to get in quality. Don't want us to have to sell quality to get in quality. You with me on that one? I'm sure you are. So, yep, Adam Idah coming back. Good to see, and hopefully it'll be in situ for the cup game at the weekend against Hibs. Now, call me cynical here. It's surprising. I'm shocked that it happened as quickly as it did. However, a wee bit of me, that wee niggling, oh, the Celtic board are never that good. That wee bit of me turned around and thought, well, we saw what happened to Kyogo at the weekend, didn't we? Took that shoulder knock, and Brendan Rodgers was making noises that perhaps it was a dislocation again. Multiple times this has happened. Now, he looked in a bit of discomfort. We're still awaiting an update on that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it's nothing serious. But I just get a wee feeling that scare, that was the final one. Nope. Do it now. I think that's where Brendan Rodgers has put his foot down here. We got a scare with Kyogo in the opening game when he got poleaxed against Kilmarnock. He was down for about 5 minutes. I was there. I remember my heart in my mouth worrying. This week, again, he takes a knock, he's down, he looks in agony. You just can't take those risks. You cannot take those risks. And I think that's been another factor that's really pushed this one over the line. I think Brendan Rodgers, he's made it very, very clear Adam Idah was the one that he wanted. We've seen the scare, and he says, get me a striker, get me Adam Idah, and get me him now. So I think a wee bit of that is perhaps expedited, quickened up the process here. Now, coming back to what I said there about great signing, bad business, I've said time and time again that I don't want to see Celtic run like a business. I've said how many times? The badge says the Celtic Football Club 1888, not the Celtic Enterprises 1888. So you might say, well, Steve, why are you bothered if it seems as bad business? Well, again, as I says, what I mean by that is Celtic's board, Celtic's scouting, its transfer policy, the whole network around that has been lacklustre, to say the least. Failed experiments previously, very failed experiment with Lowell Jr. and his cronies who thankfully are going out. But what I mean by is it bad business is if we cast our minds back to the summer and we cast our minds back to January when Brendan Rodgers was continually beating the drum that he still is right now, that he needs quality additions. He said he needed 3 or 4 quality additions to the squad. It dragged on, it dragged on, it dragged on, and it appeared that he was getting no help and he wasn't getting what he desired. With Adam Idah coming in, it was revealed that it was actually a deal, a loan penned by his own hand. He put in the legwork, he put in all the effort, and he made it happen. But he made it happen at the 11th hour in typical Celtic fashion, right at the tail end of the January transfer window. And that's what I mean by bad business. We were scratching about, desperately trying to get a top quality striker to push us on into overdrive, to get us back on form, wrestle back the lead in the league from Rangers, and eventually go and win it, which we did. And the man that he identified, Adam Idah, the man that he single-handedly brought to Celtic, was the man that delivered the goods. But unfortunately for Celtic, it was so late on in the window that it was a needs-must situation. Brendan Rodgers wanted him in. That was it. But it was so late on the deal that we didn't have time to negotiate, loan with an option to buy, loan with an obligation to buy. It was just, right, we need him in, get him in. Now, it was still never revealed how much that may or may not have cost, if there was an upfront loan fee or anything like that. It's irrelevant, but the point stands is, due to our board, due to our scouting department, or whatever you want to call it, inexperience, is that what it was? Was it inability? Was it just negligence? Due to that, we got in a person with absolutely no option, nothing on them. We just had to get them in and take it as it came. Now, thankfully for us, that turned into a massive success. Adam Idah, his impact was phenomenal. And as I say, he was a massive factor in wrestling back the lead in the league. But he single-handedly delivered us the double at Hampden with his last gasp goal. I was there, I was loving it, and I thank him greatly for it. And that was always going to be the problem for Celtic. He's a quality player. At the time, it was understood that come around about January, the fee that they had put on his head was £6 million. He was free to go to any team that were willing to pay £6 million. Now, again, in classic bad business, bad transfer policy, Celtic style, we were not willing to pay £6 million for a guy in January, and that was echoed by the fact that we'd said to have put in a lacklustre, cheapo £3.2 million bid for a Bojan Miovski, who now finds himself also going for a handsome fee of £6.8 million. See what I'm saying here? We get somebody in. There was an opportunity to try and get him in at an earlier stage, lock him down like we did with Bernardo, with an option to buy with a fixed fee. We could have, if we had done a wee bit of proactivity, if we'd been forward thinking on the front foot, potentially have got in Adam Idah with the same quality, with the same results, and saving yourself a fair amount at the other end right now. But we didn't, because that's not what we do. And that's what I mean by bad business. Make no bones about it. I think he is a fantastic signing. Do I think he's worth £8.5 million? Well, that's subjective. If you were to ask me at the end of the season, would you pay, £8.5 million raising to £9.5 million for him? My green tinted specs at the time would have said, oh, absolutely, look, he single-handed delivers that, he's worth his weight in gold, he's secured his, a £60 million bounty in the Champions League. So when you take that into account, yeah, he is worth every single penny. But at the same time, if you peg it back a bit, I would have said he was worth no more than 7. But that's irrelevant. That's just hindsight now. That's just opinion. We've got him in the door. That's all that matters. I'm just looking at it, as I say, for the purpose of balance. I'm praising it. And people out there, those happy clappers, they will praise it. Look at the board spending the money. But as I say here, we peel back the curtain, there's still a profit there. And also, we've ended up spending that money, not necessarily because we wanted to, because we were forced to. And I hope that this is a very sore lesson for our board, because where they don't like getting hit is in the bank balance and in their pockets and the bonus. And I'm pretty sure, as I've just said there, that in the fullness of time, when they have a wee look back at this, maybe think we could have and probably should have got Adam Idah for a lot less. It's a tough lesson to take, isn't it? I hope it hurts them. But in the fullness of time, this sign is only going to benefit us, and there's going to be no hurt there. It's just one to think about, isn't it? It always pays to be proactive rather than reactive. Brendan Rodgers, thankfully, he has stuck to his guns, and it's clear that he has made them know that Adam Idah was his number one target, and he wasn't taking no for an answer, much in the way that he wasn't taking no for an answer back when he signed Edouard for 9 million from PSG. So I love that. I love to see that from the manager. And it's also good because you can just imagine when the conversations and the fee came out, that there would have been a few with twitchy bums in that boardroom when they realised how much it was going to cost. But as I say, because of scrambling, Celtic, well, not Brendan Rodgers, but the power brokers essentially handed the power back to Norwich because he kicked on. By God, did he kick on. And with every goal, with every trophy, well, Adam Idah's fee just went up and up and up. And they done what every good club does, didn't they? They continually said no. They continued to make noises about how much they could contribute to the team moving forward. They played him in friendlies. They had him on the bench right up until even the weekend there. Why? Because if you make it look like you really want someone, you're backing your would-be suitors into the corner. And that's exactly what Celtic done. As I says, that fee, I have not got a problem with. I think that we should be spending that kind of fee. We shouldn't be batting an eyelid at spending £8-9 million. I'm not saying that Celtic should be spending that every single season, every second season perhaps, maybe every third season when someone moves on. When we need that level of quality, when you identify that level of quality, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to comfortably spend that. And I actually think that Celtic should be looking to spend circa around about £5 million on most players that they're trying to bring in to improve this squad, with that wee sprinkling of the higher rate that we've seen with Idah. But again, I come back to it and say, where Celtic, where the board forced into spending that money rather than actively wanting to spend it, that's where it comes down to bad business. Poor planning from Celtic, always reacting, never being proactive. But it's irrelevant, it's done, it's over the line, and you can get the kids down to the superstore and get Idah 9 on the back of their shirts because it is happening. Happy days. So what else is happening? Well, there's been another couple of things that have been coming round, and from the glorious news that we have spent a good chunk of change on Adam Idah, we come back to being tight, because we've also that young Owen Beck from Liverpool is a name that Celtic want to get themselves in about. He was, as we know, he was on loan up at Dundee. Celtic showed an interest around about January for him, but for whatever reason, whether you believe it or not, Jurgen Klopp threw the toys at the pram and he played him for Liverpool, which made him not eligible to go to another team. Was that because of the Nat Phillips experiment? Who knows? It doesn't matter. But Celtic have maintained their interest there. And as we continually look to get reinforcements at left back, there's been many names that have been bandied about, as we well know. But he's come back up and he is available. Now, early reports are suggesting that Celtic are, and I quote, some way off Liverpool's valuation of him. So what's his valuation, you might ask, if Celtic are some way off it? £3 million. I mean, it's literally laughable, is it not? We go out and we're spending £8.5 million. Why? Well, firstly, I think because we have to. They've been forced to. But regardless, we are spending it because we've identified someone that we think is going to improve us, is going to push us on, is going to give us that quality. But a guy, £3 million, we're off it. £3 million, to put into perspective, we paid 4.5 for Bernabe. Oh, these things don't make sense to me. Please make it make sense. Now, of course, that's just an early report. There's still plenty of room for this one to develop. But I would like to think, again, if Brendan Rodgers wants him in at Celtic, that £3 million should not be an issue. Should not be an issue, particularly if he believes that he is one to push us on to go further. And let's not make ourselves, forget, we have over time missed out on some great young talents. Dare say Aaron Hickey. What happened to that guy? That's right, I went over to Italy, done really well, and now he's in the Premier League, and he was bought for a princely sum, I believe, about £17 million. So if you can get a guy that's on the books at Liverpool at a very young age, and you can get him for £3 million, and you've got to be going, you've got to be taking that. You can't be messing about, you can't be beating around the bush here, you can't be losing out for a couple of £1 million. We'll see how that one develops. Hopefully it does develop, because I actually think he would be a very good option. Certainly one that I wouldn't be adverse to seeing in the hoops. And at left back, you've heard me talk time and time again about the left-sided defensive problems, and I think that one would definitely strengthen us. But there's been another link. Unbelievable, Jeff. There's been another link, and this one actually broke from Peter O'Rourke, well-known, well-respected sports journalist, Sky Sports, various other sources, and that is that apparently Celtic are wanting to do a double swoop at Norwich City, because they are apparently, according to Peter O'Rourke, that Celtic are very much interested in Abu Kamara. Now, who's Abu Kamara? As we do all the time here in Celtic World Order. Well, what do we know about him? So he's a 21-year-old right winger, English born. He's been at Norwich since 2019. So in terms of his overall career appearances, he's 136 career appearances, and that's covering all levels from first team football down to under 20s, under 18s, and so on. During that time, he's managed to put the ball in the net 53 times, and he has 21 assists to his name. Now, he's been on the books at Norwich, but he's not necessarily been in around the first team squad. He's had a couple of appearances here and there, but last year he was out on loan at Portsmouth. Again, further down the league pyramid, but still playing week in, week out at a good level. And he put in 52 appearances for Portsmouth last season, during which he was able to chip in with 10 goals and 11 assists. Pretty decent return, I'm sure that you'll agree there. And, ticking a few boxes there. Yes, he's young, 21, maybe doesn't have mass amounts. He's only got 56 senior level appearances, and as I've just said there, 52 of them came last season out on loan at Portsmouth. Now, the interesting thing about him is his contract expires this time next year. In fact, it's just gone past. It was June 2025 that his contract expires. So you've got to imagine that in terms of fee, it's going to be nominal at best. And again, if you're just going to be injecting £8.5 million into the coffers at Norwich, well, there's got to be a wee bit of room for negotiation there, if they're not. We gave you this for this guy. You've also got this boy with less than a year in his contract. How does a nominal fee sound? No fees have been touted. There's been no mention of a fee there. But again, with someone who was put out on loan that's never truly broken into their first team, you've got to imagine that you could scoop someone for around about £1.5 million. All depends on how much weight and how much value Norwich put on him, and of course it also comes down to, will there be other teams interested in getting his signature? As I say, that's not been mentioned. There's been no mention of other teams, just that according to Peter O'Rourke, Celtic are definitely in the market for Abu Kamara, and they want to make it a double swoop. Could we see a surprise double signing? Remember, you used to get those players marched out on the pitch and you had more than one guy holding a top? Well, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it, if you had two of them, both at the same club? Maybe in that yellow, very Norwichy away top. That would be sweet. Could have a wee tagline, something like, feels like home, or something. I don't know. Something a wee bit cheeky. Ultimate wideness there. But that's it. That's us up to date. It's just gone 1 in the morning here. So thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you're waking up to this and this is your good morning, happy news story. It's always great to wake up, if you've not already known the news through late last night. It's always great to see some positive Celtic news. It's always great to wake up to something positive around the club and something that, as I say, has been long overdue. I can't wait to get Adam Idah back in the squad. I was very, very, very impressed with what I saw from him in the last stages of last season. And as I say, not only did he help us wrestle the lead back in the league and reclaim our title, he single-handedly delivered us a double. And he also went a long way to delivering us the best bit of £60 million in direct entry finances to the Champions League. So that was us. Thank you for joining us. And thanks for watching this, whether you're watching first thing in the morning when this is uploaded, it's the afternoon, your peace break, or later on at night. Whenever you're doing it, thank you again for returning to the channel, and thank you to every single one of you for your support. The channel's grown, the community's grown, it's absolutely buzzing. If you haven't done already, make sure that you hit that subscribe icon. That way, every time we go live, every time we upload a video, you will get notified and you'll never miss any CW content. If you like what you see, you like what you hear, give it that wee thumbs up. And if you want to go one further, you can share it. It just gets more eyes in the room. It helps grow the community. It gets the fabled YouTube algorithm going. If you want to connect with us elsewhere, we are on X at CWPod 1888, and if you're properly old school, you can also head over to Facebook at Celtic World Order Pod. So anyway, that's it. Good news. We're on the road. We've added some quality to the team. Brendan Rodgers has finally got his man. But as I say, there is still work to be done. Do not settle. Do not be blinded by the board. Do not be this masquerade that they are big spenders. They've still got a lot to do. My eyes on them. Your eyes should be on them. Never settle. Never be satisfied. The manager wants quality. He's shouting for it. He's calling for it. It's up to us as fans to continually project that message out there, to make sure that the board, that everyone at Celtic know that we want quality. We want more. And we want it now. So until next time, take care of yourself, and as always, hail, hail.